Hello and welcome to this video recording on how to use radar charts, in other words, spidergrams, for positioning purposes. And here I will present step-by-step guide in how to do it. This topic is a part of marketing strategy chapter. So a radar chart, as I said, in other words, is called a spidergram. Well, so basically, just to give you like few highlights to explain what this is all about. It's also a tool commonly used by marketeers or brand managers to position a brand. By brand, we mean product, service, a brand, a company, anything. This is an alternative approach to perceptual map. Perceptual map is a two-dimensional map, and radar chart allows you to use multiple dimensions. What it means, it allows you to understand variety of purchasing criteria or attributes that consumers take into account when considering buying a brand. So it shows the position of the brand in the marketplace. The actual result you get would be a visual representation of consumer perceptions of the brand in relation to its competitors using attributes or dimensions that are important to consumers. And this allows companies to spot opportunities in the market or simply to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the brands as perceived by customers in relation to competitors. There are a few limitations of the radar chart. It does not show the importance of the attributes, the same as the perceptual map. There are some ways around this, and you can use a slightly different radar chart, but perhaps we will discuss it in later videos. For now, for the purpose of simplicity, we're just going to use a standard or typical radar chart. And also the other limitation perhaps or difficulty arises from using this radar chart is that it can get too crowded and hard to interpret. In particular, if you choose lots of different competitors, lots of different dimensions, so it may be that you have done a great job in designing radar chart in the first place, but you're not really able to interpret this. So again, prioritizing information is very important. You don't have to choose 15 different competitors, but choose like 5 or 3 closest competitors to make it also easier for you to make interpretation. So here is a step-by-step guide. What do we do? As always, we define the target market first. Without target market, we can't use any tools because simply we're gonna waste our time doing that because we don't really understand what people want, how people choose, and so forth. It will be different from one person to the other. Everyone is very different. So we need to start with a clear description of the target market. Number 2, identify attributes or dimensions that are important to a target market when choosing between brands. Think of as many as you can, and then you can filter out those that are not important. Again, if someone is buying a computer and your target market are, say, tech-savvy, high disposable income, living in central London, and all of that, so you might think, what might be important to those people? Maybe it's speed, power, brand name, and all of those things. But if you're targeting someone who have, like, say, fairly limited budget, they might have slightly different requirements, or maybe the people who don't necessarily need to have too many applications open at the same time. They might be like, say, office workers doing more simple jobs using mainly Word and Excel documents and Outlook, so they might be looking for different functions. You then identify competitors, and you need to think broadly about direct and indirect competitors. I will be recording a different video on identifying competitors and in particular differentiating between direct and direct. It's a very important part of competition. Not always we get it right. We will then score each brand on the attributes, plot brands using average scores on the radar chart, and interpret the radar chart. Right, so now I would like us to do a practical example, and here I have made up a case. So imagine you're working as a brand manager for Lindt in Switzerland, and you are given a very challenging task by company CMO. CMO stands for Chief Marketing Officer. They are asking you to position Lindt chocolate bar, dark hazelnut. As you can see on the picture, it has 34% of hazelnuts, and they ask you to position you using radar chart as a tool. So let's see how we can do this. Right, okay guys, so I'm not going to follow precisely step by step, but I want to show you the idea how do we use a radar chart, or in other words, spidergram. Okay, so we have to identify all those dimensions that are important to the customers. Okay, so you can see on the radar chart here, I've identified several things. For example, taste. Who doesn't want the chocolate to taste good before they eat it? Also, say that the target market, you say the people you're targeting are chocolate lovers, and they like more like fine chocolate, better quality chocolate. They don't mind to spend a little bit more. They don't necessarily like look for the deals every time they shop. And they are a bit more like natural segment. They like good stuff. They like food that is organic, fair trade, and so forth. So say that's broadly the description of a target market. Okay, so taste. Perhaps everyone, taste is important to every person you look at, whereas regardless of the budget, age, and so forth, then you might include something like nutrition. For example, there can be different things. Maybe the fact that Lindt has a lot of a lot of nuts, it might be seen as more nutritious because like nuts in general have like those healthy properties, and you might look at the lower sugar content and so forth. So you can define exactly what nutrition is. For the time being, I'm just going to leave it as nutrition. People can look at the cocoa quality. Is it single origin? Is it more than single origin? Is it coming from Peru? Is it coming from Europe? Is it coming from this country? And so forth. So again, you can also define what it means, but in general, I would call it cocoa quality. People might pay attention to the brand and how important the brand strength, so how known the brand is. There might be great chocolates, but people may have not heard of that particular brand, so they might not choose it. They might want organic if it's available. They might want fair trade, which means treating suppliers fairly. They might want particular shape, which is important to them. They find it's funny how sometimes don't you think that drinking wine from a particular glass is tastier than, say, drinking from the water glass and so forth? So shape and how it looks, appearance, is also plays a role. And you can think of the packaging. Is it convenient packaging? Is it not? Some get frustrated if it's hard to open, or you can't really store the chocolate if you ate a little bit only. So, you know, there can be several things. Okay, so say we have identified the list of dimensions. You can think of other things, but as I said, it's for the purpose of illustration. So this is our brand, Lindt Chocolate. We're working for them. Now we have to think of competitors, okay? So which are other competing brands that have similar properties, okay? Where people would consider buying from Lindt or someone else. So I thought of the few of them. So Green and Blacks, which is another like more fine chocolate, similar in price to Lindt, and also scores quite well on lots of different dimensions. Divine is another chocolate which again has is also more fine chocolate. It's a little bit more premium in terms of the price, and also scores quite highly on other dimensions. Godiva might be another one, another chocolate brand that scores quite high on dimensions. So you can think of other competitors, so you can challenge some of those that I included, but again. So now what your next step is to do to give them scores. So for example, you suppose that basically the scale I'm using here is 5. Okay, so the higher the score the brand gets, the better it delivers on that particular score. So for example, if the chocolate is organic, such as Green and Blacks, you would give 5 points, so that's the maximum. Whereas Lindt, Divine, and Godiva, as far as I know so far, do not have organic chocolate, so I gave them a score of 1, which is the lowest score. It's best to avoid giving score 0 because it just the map becomes a bit like cluttered and it's harder to interpret, and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day if you use 0 or 1. Okay, so say in terms of a taste, Lindt 5 out of 5, nutrition 5 because it has a lot of hazelnuts. It's, you know, lower maybe a bit in sugar because it's darker chocolate. Cocoa quality would be high. Brand strength, very well known brand, not organic, not fair trade. Shape, quite nice shape, not too bulky, not too small, easy to break, and packaging packed in a nice and cardboard paper, and it's easy to, like, if you use only a little, it's easy to open. It kind of this chocolate with the foil slides out, and if you wanted to put it back, you could easily put it back. You could easily store it without, you know, melting your chocolate and so forth. So Green and Blacks, then I did scores. The difference, the one key difference would be perhaps, like in terms of nutrition, I would put a bit lower because say they aren't that rich in nuts in comparison with lint, and that's something that important for a target market you may consider. But it has organic, so that would score higher. Fair trade, I'm not sure. I don't think they're fair trade, so let me just give a mark of 1 if you like. Shape, I gave a little bit less than lint. It's maybe a bit harder to break, in particular if you buy the green chocolate that I have currently on my table, green and black chocolate, which is 90 grams, and they are so small it's just hard to break evenly. So Divine also give quite similar scores if you like, but again I differentiated organic or fair trade and so forth. And Godiva. Okay, and there is the result. So how do you use radar chart? You go to insert, and it might be a little bit different from one Excel to the other. I'm actually using Excel here, so I'm using Mac as well, so that might appear slightly differently on my computer to yours. So I go to insert, and then I have to find something like radar. So here this awkwardly looking graph actually has a radar option in it. So if I click on this and then I click on the radar, basically that would design for me the chart. So that's the chart I've already designed. Okay, so you see you can just make some changes in here and see which one you like more. Okay, so let's leave it this for the moment. Now the second drop. Okay, what do you see on the map? You can see lint, for example, is blue, so it has a great taste, it has high nutrition, high cocoa quality, high brand strength, but it's not organic, it's not fair trade, shape is okay, packaging is good. So as a brand manager for Lint, what can you take away? You can perhaps emphasize the nutrition element of your chocolate if you wanted to, because it stands out from other brands. You can say a Lint chocolate brand is just as a great taste and just as a great cocoa quality, but did you know it has, like, it's better for you, like for your soul, because it's more dense in nutrients. Whereas if you're a green and black manager, you can say the only organic chocolate available. If you are Divine, you may find it a little bit harder to position here, so you may want to look for opportunities. Although, again, like some may really like the taste, so maybe you could like explore the taste option. And Godiva, which will be a yellow one, a bit in the middle. So perhaps I bet if you were to look at the sales figures, you would see that Lint and Green and Black, at least in the UK, would be probably higher than other chocolate brands, which are also not as readily available in supermarkets and so forth. Anyway, so that's the idea how you can use radar chart. And remember, as you start changing things here, this will make changes on the map as well. So give it a go, try it out. If you have any questions, please pop them on the comments and I will be able to help you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it useful. If you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the new content that I release. Thank you very much once again for supporting the channel by watching it. Thank you. Goodbye.